This video is an interesting one regarding the Civil War battlefields in USA. Before we go to the Civil War, we have to understand about Confederate States and the Union. The Confederate States of America was formed in 1861 by 11 southern states that seceded from the United States, following the anti-slavery President Abraham Lincoln. In December 1860, South Carolina became the first state to formally secede from the Union, and many states followed. During April 12, 1861, the Confederate forces attacked Fort Sumter in South Carolina, sparking the American Civil War. Now let us go to the spot where we went yesterday, that is a Fredericksburg battlefield. As a family, we are all interested in history, so our son-in-law took us to this spot. Here the battle was fought from December 11 to 15, 1862. It's called the Battle of Fredericksburg. It is one of the largest and most lopsided engagements of the American Civil War. For the first time, the houses in the town were attacked, and then the trench warfare was started for the first time in the Civil War, which later on was used in the First World War. What you see above is the Rappahannock River, and the army of the Potomac commander Ambrose Burnside of the Union marched 120,000 men to the Rappahannock River, planning to cross and dash to the capital, as they were pressurized to capture the Confederate capital of Richmond, Virginia. However, the delay in receiving the pontoon bridges gave Robert E. Lee's 80,000 strong army of Northern Virginia ample time to intercept them and fortify the surrounding heights. This is called the first urban combat. On December 11, Union engineers built pontoon bridges under heavy sniper fire, resulting in the Civil War's first instance of opposed river crossing and urban combat as Union soldiers cleared the town of Fredericksburg. On December 13, successive waves of Union troops were ordered to charge up open, muddy slopes toward a heavily fortified sunken stone wall at Mary's Heights. The Confederate defenders easily repelled these futile frontal assaults with devastating artillery and rifle fire. So, the Burnside's army suffered roughly 12,700 casualties compared to Lee's approximately 5,300 losses. On the night of December 15 to 16, the demoralized Union army retreated across the Rappahannock River. We had engaged a tour guide who took us to the various spots. With the help of map, he explained us very clearly. The historical significance of this battle is it was one of the largest troop concentrations in any Civil War battle, featuring nearly 2 lakh total combatants. And the lopsided slaughter sent the Northern morale plummeting while providing a massive boost to the Confederate cause. The devastating defeat and subsequent failed winter marches led President Abraham Lincoln to relieve Burnside of his command early 1863. What you see above is called the Angel of Mary's Heights. This sculpture depicts the heroic act on December 13, 1862, following repeated failed Union assaults against the Confederate lines at Sunken Road. Hundreds of wounded Union soldiers were trapped in the freezing no man's land under heavy fire. Moved by the cries of his wounded enemies for water, Sergeant Kirkland of the 2nd South Carolina Infantry requested permission from his commander, General Joseph Kershaw, to go to their aid. Unarmed and carrying multiple canteens, Kirkland climbed over the stone wall, which you see in the upper photo, and began giving water to the desperate Union soldiers. Realizing his mission, the Union troops held their fire and watched in awe as he tended to their fallen comrades for roughly an hour and a half. Legacy and memorialization. Although the exact details of the story have been debated by historians over the years, Kirkland's Act has become a defending legend of the Civil War, standing as a powerful symbol of mercy and humanity in the midst of brutal conflict. So today, a stone and bronze memorial sculpted by Felix D. Welton stands near the east end of the sunken road on the Fredericksburg battlefield, dedicated to an eternal tribute to the young soldier. But sadly, on September 20, 1863, at the age of 20, Kirkland was killed in action 9 months later during the Civil War. The guide showed us one called the Innis House that came under direct crossfire between the two armies during the Battle of Fredericksburg. By the end of the battle, the house was greatly damaged. The structure was intact. You can see some of the bullet holes on the wall. This Fredericksburg is a very quiet, beautiful town, and it was totally destroyed, and the people moved out of the town for so many years and there was no population. They came back only after a very long time. These are all the site of the battlefield which were seen by us during our visit. All these have been acquired by the trust, and no building is allowed to be constructed in this historical site. You can hear the guide's explanation a little bit.
First part of the Union line to break is going to be on the flat ground. They get hit on their front, they get hit on their right flank with the Confederates coming down that old Harrisburg road. They're going to take their casualties, fall back through the town, don't leave, they're going to fall back to Cemetery Hill.
The reasons for the defeat of Union, as per the guide's version, was not having proper communication and bureaucracy, as well as not using the same map by the groups. That led to the confusion, and finally the Confederacy won in this battle. Another reason is an engineer regiment begins to assemble the pontoon bridges opposite the town in the foggy pre-dawn hours, and the Confederate riflemen hiding in buildings along the riverbank harass the engineers and slow down their work. These are the actually used cannons in the battle. Seeing the pontoon bridges laying is being delayed by the Confederates, the Union commanders decided to arrange over 150 Federal guns on Stafford Heights and bombard the Fredericksburg, blasting scores of buildings and terrifying the civilians. After 4 hours of shelling, the engineers returned to their bridge work and the riflemen resumed their shooting. That's why it said the first time the civilians were attacked in the war. Few hours of house-to-house fighting was done in the streets of town. Though it gave success initially in an area later known as a slaughter pen, General George D. Meade's division was able to threaten the Confederate right, but due to lack of coordinated reinforcement, it became a failure. After the battle, the Federals withdrew across the Rappahannock to avoid being trapped, relinquishing the gains they made. The embarrassing and the crushing Union defeat sparks recriminations in Washington, causing a crisis among the members of Lincoln's cabinet. 6 weeks after the battle, Lincoln removed Burnside from the command and appoints Major General Joseph Hooker as a commander of the Army of the Potomac. For the Confederates, it boosted their morale and reinvigorated Lee's Army of Northern Virginia, which went on to triumph again at Chancellorsville in May 1863. The record for all these information is from the letters written by the soldiers to their family, and by the telegraph informations, and also by the newspaper publications. And another new thing, the cameras was used for the first time to record the battlefield scene. The writer who wrote the novel Little Women, Alcott, has recorded her memories in a semi-autobiographical newspaper series called Hospital Sketches, in which she has recorded about the horrific scene she witnessed. Above board shows the repercussions on the citizens of the town, that they had no place to hide as the enemy riddled every moving thing in sight. As a continuation of this video, later we will see about the Gettysburg fight of the Civil War. Thanks to all history lovers.